What's up, Nerfherders? Welcome back to the N.A.P. We have got an interesting for you. We got
We got an interesting for you.
So it's not every day that we get to talk about, at least not for the last year and a half, where we get to talk about breaking box office news, where we get to talk about a movie that Josh and I have both seen within a reasonable amount of time, and then didn't agree on, and then we got some business news for you. We got all kinds of stuff. We got a pretty good variety of entertainment world talk to go through. Let's kick things off though. Josh, how are we doing today?
We are doing, man. I just got back from a family gathering. It was the first time I've seen 99% of the people there in over a year. We had to get together like a month before COVID really started locking everything down, and then came back together. So it's been over a year, actually a year and a few months. So that was weird, but great.
So and kick off to the long weekend to kind of, I guess not kick off. We're pretty much halfway through it now, I guess. But.
Yeah. But it was nice. It was a nice piece of the weekend for sure. How about you?
I am stacking my Monday full of photo shoots.
Nice.
I will be going on vacation here before too terrible long, and I'm trying to finish out a couple things before that happens. Cool. But other than that, we're I don't know, really just trying to wrap up a bunch of stuff before I'm gone for like a week and a half. Because I will be out of contact from the 11th until the basically the 21st. So
wow.
A good chunk of June I'll be in contact somewhat, but won't nearly be as reliable as it normally is. But yeah, so I'm trying to catch up on a bunch of stuff. So I did a second viewing of Army of the Dead to prepare for our talk today. I might have analyzed it a little bit too hard, but we'll see. And then I'm just trying to burn through some of my own personal stuff to kind of knock it through, and I'm considering renting A Quiet Place and A Quiet Place 2 so I can kind of get through that. But I don't think there's a rental option for Quiet Place 2 inside that time window. I know it's going up on Paramount at some point. But
yeah, it's a 45-day window before it'll be available for POD. So, or POV. That's a band. Well, isn't it pay on demand or pay
VOD?
VOD. I don't know what it is. It's whatever. You know what we're talking about. So it's not in theaters, so you can pay to watch it. So yes, they got a 45-day window, and yeah.
I don't feel that I will get it inside of that window.
Probably not. Yeah.
But I don't know that I want a horror film to be my first return to the theater either. So that's kind of that one's kind of a tall order for me. But let's kick off. We got some other topics to go on. What did you throw up on there first?
Let's see here. Where are we at? Where's my little thing here? I can't see the thing.
Before we got going. There we go.
We did. Well, we wanted to talk today, but then we were both busy. So just to follow up, we talked last week. Fair. We talked a week or two ago about Amazon possibly buying MGM, and they have. That officially went down. Now it's still a year out till it's done, but the it was in talks that this could be a deal that they're talking about, and it has officially become an actual thing now, not just a rumor. So it looks like Amazon bought it for something a little over $8 billion, which is, compare that to the AT&T Discovery deal with HBO Max and Warner Media and everything. That was, that was like $48 billion plus stocks and everything. MGM went for a slightly smaller amount. Granted, MGM compared to Warner Media are two different things. Warner Media had a lot more going for it, but it's still pretty incredible that they actually bought it and all the things that come with it. We kind of broke that down last time, but yeah.
What's even more incredible is that there's nobody talking about it.
Well, I think because it's a year out, they know that it takes at least a year for this to happen. It still hasn't been approved by by the government yet, which I think most people think it will, but
Right.
we won't start seeing the effects of this for probably another 2 years or whatever.
It's just normally when we get an announcement like this, specifically around, I mean, this is a pretty major business move. I mean, we talked about it in the last episode, how big some of the catalogs are out of Metro-Goldwyn there. I mean, the James Bond one was the biggest that we talked about for the most part. There are several others in there as well. That's no small thing. And Amazon just kind of swooped in, and the news broke about it right around the same time that the A&T and Discovery deal was talked about. And so with MGM being a smaller franchise, or I guess franchise probably wouldn't be the right word for it, but with MGM being a smaller entity, Amazon kind of flew in under the radar on this one, really. Like they kind of snuck this in underneath all that ATT and Discovery stuff, because not only was that a super big move, there was a bunch of talk about how the new company that will formulate between Warner Media and Discovery and all that will basically be $55 billion in the hole when it kicks off. A bunch of different economic implications that people were talking about, and then studio are just like entertainment things that were going on. Meanwhile, the amount of stories that I've seen about Amazon picking up MGM, basically nothing. Like essentially just the announcements. But when and we were comparing the two last time, so we kind of got to compare the two this time around. When we talked about AT&T and Warner Media, that was announced, and like they were starting like the approval process. When the other one was announced, it was really just kind of rumored. Nothing had been confirmed yet that Amazon was making this push for MGM. But now we've got the exact same situation where they've announced it. They're in the same position. They're waiting for government oversight approval. It's absolutely something that they want to do. Very little talk about it. And I don't know that that's necessarily a show of Amazon's power or anything like that. I think it's really just because in scale, yes, it's not as big of a move, and it's not going to change. Like, honestly, we're not talking about this really changing anybody's lives either. If anything, that just means that the catalog that might be available on Amazon or on Amazon Prime for free will get a lot bigger.
Well, and I think it's a little muddy too what things will shake out, because there has been some articles that I've been following on this that have come out since that first announcement, kind of breaking down, okay, what does MGM really own? And we talked about a lot of their flagship franchises and everything, Bond being one of them. Right. But it's interesting that apparently they don't even fully own the rights to Bond. And other things like The Wizard of Oz, which is a huge legacy title for MGM. Warner Brothers currently owns the right to that film. So a lot of their catalog is a little muddy on who actually owns the rights to it. But I think a lot of people have known that MGM for the last couple decades has been in trouble. I mean, they went under a while back, and they had to pretty much cancel all of their franchises. Bond got put on hold. Rocky got canceled. Their TV stuff.
Rocky was the other one. I couldn't remember.
But
like when I was trying to think of the other ones, Legally Blonde kept coming up. I was like, I don't know why that one's held so.
What was that? They had that massive Stargate franchise with spinoffs. That went down. That they canceled their latest on that. And then they started coming back with the Creed movies and everything, and Bond started coming back, and they were gaining some ground. But a lot of people are saying, man, $8 billion for this is. I'm reading this article right now. This Catherine Trinskata from the Electric Frontier Foundation. They're a nonprofit on digital rights. Rights group, and they're kind of a people that people reach out to for statements for things like this. They were talking about how it feels like this is a really small price tag, and that 5 years from now, people are going to be like, how the hell did you get them to sell it to you for that much, for that low of a price? Because, I mean, just like we saw when Disney bought Lucasfilm, people might not have the Star Wars films might have been rocky since then, but but you can't deny that Disney put money into that, and they could afford to put money into it. And Amazon might not be your traditional studio yet, but if anybody has millions of dollars to drop on some of these IPs, it's Amazon. And so if they can figure out which ones they fully own the rights to and then capitalize on those, then Amazon could be this incredible studio going forward. And this could be the, their golden ticket. So we'll see what happens. But I think a lot of people are just confused as to, okay, what do they really own, and what do they own a percentage of? And, is it as big as we think it is, or is it a little more limited and scarce, and that's why they're selling to begin with? And, what does that all mean?
Well, and that'll be a big part of their negotiations too, is which ones they can actually manage to stick with as they carry them over. Because if MGM is just trying to trying to get away from it, just trying to sell that stuff off, they're not really going to care who all they're selling it to. They want the best price. And if the Bond franchise isn't actually owned by MGM, if they don't have the rights to sell that off to Amazon, that's going to play a big part. They'll want some sort of proprietary ownership of that property to some degree. But yeah, I don't know what all it actually entails. Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts. Where in the starting stages, it's exactly like it was when we talked about AT&T and Discovery. AT&T and Discovery was a little bit more forward with what all was going to happen as it went along. Amazon's being a lot more quiet, which might also be why not as many people are jumping on it, because there's just not enough detail yet. Right. So I guess we'll just kind of have to wait and see what really comes out as far as all this goes. But yeah, there's potential for massively game-changing implications from this, at least as far as Amazon's concerned.
Yeah, well, and we've talked about other things with Amazon in the past year, like when AMC was really struggling, and there was that talk of, will AMC buy, or will Amazon buy AMC, and then what would that look like for Amazon to own theaters, And then that didn't turn out, but now that the ArcLight Cinemas and the Cinerama Dome out in California have closed down, and those are huge pieces of Hollywood, and Tarantino has fought with Disney over the Cinerama Dome on his movies and stuff like that. Those are huge chunks of the industry, and Amazon is apparently one of the bidders for those two things. And so that plus this, it really feels like they could have the potential to be a studio. And this other article that I was reading was talking about how these other companies are doing these things, like CBS is doing their Paramount Plus and everything, and everybody's coming out with these streaming things, and a lot of them are doing it mainly to keep up with everybody else. Meanwhile, Amazon, they're so damn big that they can afford to do this. They're not doing this to make their bottom line. They're doing it because they can, and if they have access to some of these franchises, it's just going to be money makers for them because they can afford to put the money into it. They're not
domination.
They're not borrowing from this bank and this bank to make it. They own the bank, they own the mint, so they own everything. So
maybe another reason we're not hearing about it is because Bezos has his hand in a bunch of newspapers too, and he just doesn't want him reporting on it.
It's kind of scary. It is kind of scary, and it's kind of you're starting to, and you're not starting to think. We've been talking monopolies for a long time now, especially with Disney buying Fox and everything. But at the same time, I remember when people were freaking out when Disney bought Marvel, and everybody was like, "Oh no, just no, don't touch it. Don't get your mousy, grubby hands on it." And now people are like, they can't imagine what Marvel would be without the Disney checkbook behind it. Disney has made Marvel to be the limitless beast that it is. So Amazon buying this studio and potentially owning some of these really huge IPs is kind of alarming. But at the same time, if they have if they have fuck you money that they don't care where it goes, that could potentially be like, holy shit, we can do this, and for fans of The Expanse like me that have seen what they've done with something that sci-fi had to drop, doing that but with some of these IPs, it's pretty crazy. It could be really neat. It could be, something really amazing for the industry.
And even without the IPs, like we're talking like the properties and the physical resources that they might attain through all this stuff too.
Yeah,
I mean that could be a big thing, because if they're going to end up saving costs on certain certain production requirements in order to put these shows out, that could end up being pretty big too. But again, we're still we're definitely in the wait and see side of things.
absolutely.
But it's exciting.
It is exciting.
To see what could happen here.
We'll circle back in a year.
I think either way we win, because if they're putting
the viewers, for sure,
better, I think we still win either way.
It's not like what's his name from A Christmas Carol is buying it up just to like throw it in the trash. Like Scrooge. Bah humbug. Scrooge. Right. I'm going to buy all your movies and then burn them. And no, I mean,
you said Christmas Carol. And for some reason, I thought Christmas Story, and all I could think was Ralphie with a BB gun trying to.
No, yeah, no, it's not like Scrooge is buying all of our favorite things to destroy him. It's still a rich, possibly asshole who's buying it, but maybe he just doesn't care. And that could be great for us.
I'm going to hold on with what I said in the last podcast, is that I think Bezos is buying this up because he was sitting in bed. He was like lounging on his his holographic TV projection that goes up above his bed. Yeah. He just didn't have the energy to pick up the Blu-ray, and all of his servants had gone home for the day. And he was like, I don't have the energy to put in James Bond right now. I'm just going to buy MGM so I don't have to deal with this ever again.
Just going to buy it. Yeah.
It's just going to be instantly streamable wherever I am.
Mm-hmm. Hey man, all power to you.
Hey man, yeah, if you got that kind of money, I can totally see it happening.
But that's a year out at least. I want to talk about this weekend. This weekend, we had two big movies come out this weekend. Cruella was one of them, and A Quiet Place 2 was the other one. This was these are not the first big studio movies to come out this year, but this was definitely the first kind of head-to-head in the theaters. It was a big holiday weekend. A Quiet Place 2 was strictly in theaters. Cruella did the half and half, the theaters and the premiere price with the $29.99 price on Disney. But it was a big head-to-head, and it did gangbusters, or at least it's doing gangbusters so far.
Especially with the opening of the world, essentially, or at least the country. So the CDC came out somewhat recently. I mean, it was a couple weeks, if not a few weeks ago. They're like, hey, if you're fully vaccinated, you can resume normal activities to a certain degree without a mask. There's been some people who are behind that announcement who said that people are taking it out of context, but I don't necessarily know how. They were pretty straightforward as far as what they were intending. And I mean, immediately, like literally within the next few days, I mean, you go to the grocery store or anything like we went to the grocery store today, and maybe 10% of the people in there were wearing masks. I mean, it just dropped, and we were still wearing them because I don't trust anybody. I'm still I'm vaccinated, but I don't like, I'm still, it feels weird to be walking around without one at this point after all this time.
Yeah.
But the world is opening back up, and we had a couple movies that were hyped up pretty aggressive. I would say that A Quiet Place 2 was probably hyped up a little bit more just because they are doing like a theater exclusive thing. Disney's kind of in that stage where they're like, we'll get the money no matter what we fucking do at this point. But I don't know. I've seen a lot more ads for A Quiet Place 2 than I have for Cruella.
I don't have TV
and all that stuff,
so maybe there was a lot of TV ads for Cruella, but yeah, I haven't seen a lot of other media stuff.
Yeah, maybe they're focusing in that range, because I mean, I like just scrolling through my social media, making my regular posts as I do. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I saw a lot more ads for Quiet Place 2 than I did for Cruella. And
Well, yeah. And if we're talking worldwide scale, which we're not, we're just talking domestic right now.
yeah, no, of course.
Worldwide, Fast 9 has been killing it over in Asia. It's gotten a ton more money than this over in Asia. So I'll be interested to see how that lands. I think that's going to be the next huge weekend domestically. But
pretty weird that one would pop over there first too.
Yeah, strange. I don't know, but it's been doing crazy numbers over there. But as far as this weekend, and domestically, the for a while there, especially in the last few months of last year, you were doing good if your opening weekend was 5-6 million.
Yeah.
That was like, well, like I want to look up right quick. What was Tenet opening weekend? Because that was the first, it's going to bring back the theater. Tenet's opening weekend was 9.5 million. 9.5 million. Godzilla versus Kong that came out here in April or March. That was the big record setter this year. So at that point, it was 32 million for its 3-day weekend, and then 48 million for its first 5 days, because I think that was a long weekend as well. So that was a record holder. But now A Quiet Place 2 has beat that. It's at 58 million right now for a 4-weekend bounty. And it's supposed to get, I think Variety and Deadline are predicting that it'll end up somewhere to mid 60 million, which is pretty good. And somebody had this quote here that I thought was pretty great.
A few different results here too. Like
yeah. Well, it's because it's a weekend. It's because it's a But
and
it's
how many places were reporting at the time the article came out and everything too.
Like, right.
They decided their cutoff would be.
But somebody had a good quote, and I can't seem to find it here. I thought I had it up there, but basically saying that this is one of the first movies that says, A Quiet Place 2 is the first domestic release this year to cross the threshold from great opening weekend given the pandemic to great opening weekend period. And saying that this is proof that people are wanting to come back, and it's really good. It's good looking news for the industry, because a lot of people are like, are we going to have a movie summer? Are the movies coming out this summer still too early? Should they have waited till the fall? And they actually moved this up. This was going to come out my birthday weekend in September, and they moved it up to Memorial Day weekend. And then they moved it up to compete with the Disney movie. So that was ballsy enough as it was. So props to A Quiet Place 2. I know I have Cruella on here. Props to A Quiet Place 2. I saw it twice this weekend, and I'm not going to get into it because Seth hasn't seen the first one, but excellent sequel. Picks up seconds after the first one, and it is a wonderful movie. It was really good.
I mean, just this frame here is a pretty big spoiler when you think about it.
Not really. This frame was in the...
I can put it together, but...
Well, this is the first, second scene of the movie. Oh, for the first one, for sure. Well, yeah. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Have you seen any of the posters for this movie?
I hadn't planned on watching them. But I've got to admit, every single time so far that you have pressured me into checking out a piece of content, except for the time,
the one we're about
except for the one that we're about to talk about today, you haven't let me down. And honestly, I wouldn't even call Army of the Dead a letdown either. We'll get into that later, but yeah, when you recommend something highly to me, it's generally paid off pretty well. Yeah. So I got to give it a shot.
And it's not a horror movie. I mean, it's not a horror movie. It's a it's a sci-fi thriller. I would not call Aliens a horror movie where some other people would. I would call Aliens a sci-fi thriller. This is a sci-fi thriller. It's got aliens kill people. It's not really a horror movie. When I think of horror, I think more like slasher films or straight up horror genre. But if it has a sci-fi thing, I always kind of lean more towards calling it a sci-fi thriller.
That's fair. Like I had a pretty loose definition for it, and it's really based off of the trailer that I see for the content. And if it looks like it's just going to be nonstop jump scare crap like that, I lose my interest in it. Mainly because like after a while, like I used to watch horror films pretty big. Like I used to check them out a lot. I still remember seeing The Ring and being pretty into that movie. I remember seeing the first Saw like way back in the day. Just after a while,
The Ring would definitely be considered a horror movie. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, it just eventually, like, as the movies kept coming, I mean, I blame a little bit of it on the Saw sequels. Because I didn't get a chance to see any of the sequels.
Yeah.
That I can remember. They just kept on coming, and everybody who I talked, because I worked in a movie theater for a portion of this, and everybody told me that they just kept on sucking. I'm just like, well, that's unfortunate. The other horror movies that I would see, like we would see previews, because we had an old fashioned movie theater, like we actually had film, and so when they came in, we had to splice all the film together. It came in like 4, sometimes 5, depending on how long the movie was. We'd splice those together, then we would loop it and reel it through the projector, and then we would have to like we normally get these like the weekend or like the Wednesday before the movie was actually showing anywhere, or earlier if we had like a sneak preview or something like that. And so we would sit, and so like some of these movies I got to see in the theater with my coworkers, because we were like test running the film. And I honestly, like, some of those memories are great, but at the same time, it's like some of the movies that I saw, especially the horror films, were like really big, started to become really big letdowns. And so I kept on getting farther and farther away from the genre. And even my interest as an aspiring filmmaker to make a horror film is really, really low. I mean, I don't have that drive for it. But as you said, like you've continuously tried to like split up the genre a little bit more instead of having it generalized in that way. And right. I mean, that might be the convincing that I need. Like I'm really big into science fiction. Like that's a big thing I know the basic premise of the first one. And it's interesting, but it's also like dangerously close to, based off of like the trailers that I saw for it and the ads, it's dangerously close to that type of movie that I'm just not interested in for like a cheap scare or suspense or something like that. Like it just is not interesting to me.
Well, but, no one's forcing you to watch it, but I think most people would classify it as a step above. That this is jump scares done right. I think most people say that, you know, this is your high class thriller and not your Blumhouse cheapness. However, on the money side of things, A Quiet Place 2's budget was $61 million, and it's already approaching that in its opening weekend. So that is very impressive. I'm looking at the numbers here. It came out in 3,752 theaters for this weekend, and it's projected to be 58 to 65 million by the end of the 4-day weekend. So that's really good for A Quiet Place. Cruella, on the other end, came out in more theaters. It's playing in about 200 more theaters, and it is projected to make $26.5 million on a $200 million budget. Now, people are saying, well, that's terrible, right? Well, here's the thing. Disney's also releasing this on their platform, and they're not going to tell you if it does well or not. Yeah.
I hate that.
This is their theatrical distribution chief, Tony Chambers, saying this is a great result for Cruella. It's not just about opening weekend for family films. We always knew we'd be number 2. Okay. That just sounds like they're trying to save face.
I feel like he's being kind of a douche.
We'd be number 2.
I feel like he's kind of being a douche about it, but at the same time, like they're probably gonna get their money back.
Well, he says we're in great shape for a long run. They probably will. Here's the thing. I'm going to give a quick review for Cruella. It's not a family film. It's a PG-13 film. That's not a family film. So the fact that we had Memorial Day weekend with 2 PG-13 films, one was a thriller and one was this, there was not a family film. for families. And I would bet hard money that a lot of families at home didn't say, oh, we want a movie for the kids. Let's watch Cruella. Look at this picture. What about this picture looks like it's a family film? It's not. This movie has cold-blooded murder. It's got attempted murder. It's got killer CGI dogs. It is a Devil Wears Prada set in the 70s, and it is not a family film, let alone a kids film. It's really not a kids film at all. So, but yeah, we'll never know if it's a success or not because Disney will never tell you their numbers on Disney Plus. They haven't in the past for all of their other ones, even some of their big ones like Raya and the Last Dragon. But as far as
that those numbers aren't bad though, because they're giving those numbers to their shareholders and the people that are investing in stuff like this.
Yeah,
like they're giving up those numbers, and it's gonna
either way
up there,
it feels like this was a dud for them. But who knows? It could bring out more.
You didn't go into it super excited either, because I remember you talking about the movie when it first got announced and around trailer time, and you were pretty.
That's because
you're pretty aggressively against the concept of it.
I'm against the concept of let's take a villain and make a sympathetic story for the villain. And you know what? I'll give you this. I watched the movie. It had a lot of really good stuff in it. It had a great soundtrack. It had some pretty good editing. It had. The direction was great. Like I said, it's the a Devil Wears Prada set in the 70s. It's all about Emma Stone being this up and coming fashion designer going up against Emma Watson. No, wait, who is this? This is Emma.
That's Emma Stone.
Yeah, Emma Stone.
Emma Stone.
She's going up against Emma Watson, who is the current reigning. She's Gucci. In the 70s, she's the current reigning fashion icon, and it's about them, going off against each other. That's a really cool story. I feel like somebody wrote that story, and then Disney was like, we need an edgy story for Cruella, and took that and then just pasted Cruella's name on it.
Like, this works. That's what a lot of reviewers have been saying, is that it could have been completely unassociated with Disney and in its entirety and still been.
And I think most people would have been like, oh, this is interesting, but then, and I said, oh, this is interesting in a lot of parts. But then when you remember what it really is, and when they start tying in other things like CGI Dalmatians and other characters like Horace and Jasper and stuff like that, and they start really force feeding you that Cruella stuff, while also trying to change the back once again. She's not really a villain. She's misunderstood. She had a terrible childhood, blah, 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 blah. We're going to rewrite one of our iconic characters that everybody grew up and loved. And by the end of it, you're going to love her. It was just like, okay, every time they brought you back to that, you were like, all right, well, that's why I don't like this film,
right.
Because for everything they do good, they do more stuff to cram in the Cruella aspect of it. And it was just a letdown, but it's in more theaters and it's doing considerably less. But either way, it's a win for us. It's a win for the cinemas because that movie got 26.5 million. A Quiet Place Part 2 got upwards of 60 million. That's pretty solid for your first big weekend of the summer after the year we've had, and that's really promising for these future summer releases.
Yeah, so. I'm in a boat where I feel like having the option. I still like the route that Disney goes with their options as far as seeing it, because now after seeing all these reviews, I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I want to pay $30 to see this thing here. But at the same time, I could have gone to a theater and seen it for around the same price now, for just me and Cece or something like that. I'd be in pretty good shape. Whereas with A Quiet Place, I feel like I'm not a big horror fan. Cece saw A Quiet Place 1 and she liked it. So, and she's bugging me to see Quiet Place 2 with her too. So, I mean, she's not exactly anxious to get into a theater yet either, but that's coming up. But if I end up going to a theater, I end up not liking that one, that experience, especially in this day and age, is like, I'm just out, whatever that was.
Yeah.
I do like the streaming side of things that are pumping up there, which again just continues on with what you said. It's like we win either way.
Yeah.
Like the consumer wins either way. I feel like I really hope that it's not going to happen, but I hope that Disney kind of like learns a lesson from I want every studio really, or every person who's in charge of making decisions for movie franchises of any kind, or just making movies in general. These big studios, it's like, instead of it just being money grabs, like we really need them to listen to people when it comes to reviews like yours and like the other ones that are coming out, and be like, hey, just like the fans didn't need this. We didn't want this. And having Cruella in there didn't add it at all. Didn't add anything to it at all. It's like, if you wanted to just like put the money up and like put it underneath one of your other, however many franchises Disney owns, or however many studios, just put, like, if Disney wanted to make the money for it, just put it under one of the other companies you guys own, call it good.
Yeah. Well, next, looks like Jeffrey saw both of them. Let's see. I'm sorry, Jeffrey. I missed a lot of your comments here. He said he's talking about Quiet Place 2. I'll be seeing it for the second time tomorrow. Love it. Opening sequence is something else. Yeah, it really was. It was fantastic. That was just, talking about Cruella. Yeah. And the CGI and how dark it was. Yeah, dark as in lighting. Yeah, it was interesting. But yeah, A Quiet Place 2, I would definitely go see it. But Cruella, I'm just waiting for Disney to be like, our next big feature is Scar Origins. He wasn't really an evil uncle. He was misunderstood, and he was chastised for his physical ailments. And it's just he's actually a victim, and he didn't really kill his brother like he did. Yeah, I'm just waiting for that next.
Give me a live action Treasure Planet.
That's funny because I was thinking Hook in my head, and Treasure Planet is just that in space, pretty much.
Well, so I honestly, the old Hook movie still holds up for me. With Robin Williams
because that's not what this is. That's not what this format was. That was totally different.
Leave that.
But imagine if they came out with Hook, and Hook was actually this tortured soul. Anyway, let's move on.
Honestly, we didn't get much motivation behind Hook other than honestly, if a 10-year-old dickhead cut my hand off, I'd be a little pissed off too. So, I mean, he's also a pirate.
Have been trying to kill the 10-year-old to begin with. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know that Disney, after their last few Pirates of the Caribbean, can jump into another pirate movie at this point.
Who knows? Don't put it past them.
Yeah.
With movies coming back into theaters, trailers are starting to come back. And there was a lot of them that dropped over the past week. There was one for a Gunpowder Milkshake that looks like a John Wick ripoff. There was one. There's a Mark Wahlberg film called Infinite, where he's like it's about reincarnation, and it looks really bad. There was a lot of meh trailers. This one came out.
The Eternals trailer didn't really get me that excited either.
It was so lackluster. Oh my God. Yeah. And people are like, chill, it's a teaser trailer. And I'm like, I have seen some
teasers are supposed to inspire something in you a little bit, but nothing. I got nothing.
The Batman trailer that we got last August? That was a teaser trailer, and people couldn't shut the fuck up about it for months.
A little bit harder to compare Batman and the Eternals.
But it's it's Marvel and DC, kind of hard not to. Here we go.
Sure. Yeah,
this is a teaser trailer that's not about a property people know about. It's not the next Marvel film, but holy shit, this got me pumped, and I wanted to share it with you because I'm pretty sure you haven't seen this yet. Have you seen this?
I've not. You told me not to.
Okay.
You told me not to, so I didn't do anything.
I'm going to. Well, I just need to make sure, bro.
I listen to you when you make recommendations like this. Generally, I try and follow through and be good about it.
I'm gonna try this again with share audio because I didn't download the file, so hopefully this works.
I'm gonna try and watch it at the same time. Just because when we talk, the audio seems to go weird.
Okay, well I'm gonna bring it back to 0.
3,
ready? 2,
1.
When you're alone And life is making you lonely.
It's a girl from Jojo Rabbit. I loved her.
Downtown. When you got trouble.
Baby Driver wasn't bad either.
It's the one Edgar Wright film I didn't care for. We're totally gonna get hit with this music, with this song. Just to let you know.
Yeah, that's fair.
Listen to the music of the
She was great in Jojo Rabbit, though. Oh, I love that Thunderball. I think she's gonna be a big star. She's got 2 movies coming out this year.
How can you lose?
Queen's Gambit. Get it.
The lights are much brighter there. You can forget all your troubles.
Visually stunning. I love it.
So go
Woo, that was sick.
downtown. Things will be great when you're downtown. No finer place for sure. Downtown. Everyone's waiting for you. Everyone's waiting for you. Leaving ghosts.
Oh, you lost me here. What a weird way to transition to the end title. Fucking, I felt dirty after that one, but
I feel like that's referencing something. Like this gave me like I don't know if I don't think this is a remake, but this gave me like Suspiria vibes almost. And
see, the first thing I thought was like a weird offbeat of the Fight Club concept, like where she's like having like where she's seeing like her,
but with time travel,
like how she was. Yeah. I mean, that was just like with her having like in the reflection.
Sure.
And, like,
right.
Seeing that this is how she actually pictures herself, or how she wants to picture herself, stuff like that.
Well,
kind of the Brad Pitt versus Edward Norton thing. Like, I don't know. That definitely looks interesting. It looks really fucked up.
It's so different from. I agree with Jeff here. It's so different from his other films. Like I still don't know if this is going to be a horror film, but the music cues definitely seems to suggest that. But Edgar Wright's never really tapped into that before. Like even Shaun of the Dead was more comedy than horror. You know, he's always done more comedy driven stuff, but this was definitely, I didn't feel any comedy in this. I felt like this was more of like a thriller, time travel, weird ass movie, but it looks so good. And of course it's got his style all over it. And, you know, I didn't really care for Baby Driver, and I know I'm in the minority of that, but I love his style of filmmaking, and I'll go see anything he makes.
I was kind of indifferent to it. It was more I don't know. There were a bunch of filmmaker nerdy things about Baby Driver that I remember that got me in, but
yes, I did notice that.
Did you notice Corella even used Nat King Cole's smile from Joker's trailer? It's a combination of joke. Oh,
I rolled my eyes so hard, Jeff, when that played in that scene. I was like, you did not. Like, I get it. Music is a big part of that, but really, that was a bit on the nose. I felt for what they were doing.
That's as if that wasn't the comparison that people were already making.
I know, but I am. I know this is probably not something you're interested in, but I was blown away by this trailer, and I just thought it was so different than something I've seen in a while. And it's got Queen Gambit's Anna Taylor
Joy.
Taylor Joy, yes, she's fantastic. I can't wait.
Honestly,
to see more
the concept of this one is more interesting to me than like a creature or something like that we need to check out. Like this seems to be like a psychological thriller, where it's more like the enemy is more her own mind.
Sure.
And I can dig something like that.
But this girl right here, let me get it. I know. I'm going to get a bigger picture over here. 1 second here. She is. Let's do that one. That's a good one. She is the lead from Jojo Rabbit, and her name is Thomason McKenzie. She was Did you ever see Jojo Rabbit?
Negative.
Oh my gosh, that was the film about the kid with the imaginary Hitler as a friend. She was a breakout star. I mean, the kid was great too, but she was fantastic in that movie. And she's coming out with a few films this year. And this is one of them. I think I saw another trailer for her. Something else. Oh yeah, she's coming out in M. Night Shyamalan's next film, Old, which just dropped a trailer this week as well. So she's killing it. And I think she's really young. I think she's like 21. So she's just kind of launching right now. But, and I know she's been in a lot of things. She was in a lot of TV shows between 2012 and 2018, but she's coming up, and I thought she was amazing in Jojo Rabbit. So I can't wait to see her in this, which seems more like a solid lead for her, and see what else she does. So yeah, I'm excited for that. I thought that was a really cool teaser. And unlike Eternals, I was like, oh my gosh, like I don't know what's happening, but holy crap, I'm intrigued. Whereas Eternals, I was like, I don't know what's happening, but okay. Like I wasn't asking questions.
I like that Eternals immediately answered the question of like specifically that comic book nerds would have. Because obviously from a business standpoint, you have to remember that Marvel didn't have the money to introduce all these franchises before Endgame and all that. And so immediately out of the gate, they're like, yeah, until now we haven't interfered. And there's some certain comic book references that between them and Thanos that are comic book connections. But the trailer itself, first of all, there's a lot of stories that they could go with, and it's kind of already apparent which one they're going for. And it's kind of a memory loss thing. There's a little bit of amnesia involved.
I have no history with Eternals, so I don't know. But what does this say? On Twitter, Edgar Wright was saying, make sure you watch the trailer for Last Night in Soho before A Quiet Place. And John Krasinski said he did love to see these directors supporting each other. That's great. Yeah. I kind of wish I just saw A Quiet Place twice this weekend on this new theater in town. I
think we were both trying to drop that comment off.
Yeah, sorry. I saw it at this new theater, which is the biggest. They have the biggest screen in Omaha now. It's a 75-footer, and it's a Dolby Atmos screen, which I love Dolby Atmos screens. And I wish they would have had that trailer on here because that's a gorgeous screen. But I saw A Quiet Place 2 on there, and I'm like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. And until the Alamo opens back up, that's the new one out by Elkhorn. It's the AC 12 Plus. The exorbitant people
bought. Middle of nowhere off that highway.
Yeah, but it's right on the way home from work now. So that's what I did on Friday. I just drove straight to that after work. And yeah, I was happy with it. But I know you want to get into this. So
I think we're on to the meat and potatoes of our talk today.
Yes, I hyped this movie up last week. I said I really loved it. You finally got a chance to see it. And you've watched it twice, which is interesting to me.
Okay, so I watched it the first time, and on our last podcast, I said that I enjoyed it to try and kind of get through, because I watched it the first time, and I wasn't.
So you lied to me, is what you're saying. You lied to me.
I lied because I care.
Oh my gosh!
I tried to disconnect myself from it because I feel like the first time I watched it, first of all, I kind of watched it in the background, so I was doing some stuff. But the bits that I paid attention to, I was just like, I wasn't really on board for that. And I kind of wanted to dismiss it as I didn't see it in the right context. So I was like, all right, before I do a full on review of this, I need to sit down. I need to watch this film uninterrupted. I need to watch it without having anything in between. And I took a bunch of notes, surrounding the stuff that like particularly stuck out to me the first time, and then some other just like random, just some like random stuff that I saw in this second one, and I was literally just trying to base it off of two things. I was watching it as like a full-on movie, like I would watch anything else. Like I'm looking for the story. I'm looking for how much. Like I wasn't looking at it specifically for its entertainment value. I wanted to be told a good story, because it's 2.5 hours long, and so I'm waiting for a good story to get told, and so I watched it the second time around, and I left unsatisfied yet again. That's my spoiler-free review. I have to give this one like a 5.5 out of 10 on my scale, which is still like, it's not as bad as I might have expressed it when I sent you the message saying that I still think it kind of sucked, because that's probably a little aggressive for it. I see a lot of things that Zack Snyder wanted to do with this movie, and I feel like I feel like I didn't get a chance to like kind of go in like I normally do and be like, all right, how would I fix this in the editing room if I had been in charge of this? There's a couple things that I could change, but I don't think they would change the overall outcome of the movie. I can see a lot of really cool stuff that he obviously wanted to touch into and would probably want to further explore with more movies set inside this franchise. And based off of that, I will watch future versions of this franchise. Like if he makes more, if he makes sequels, and specifically Zack Snyder, it's not another guy that the studio brings in or something. Like I want to see Zack Snyder's original vision for how this thing plays out, because if that ends up being the case and those other two movies kind of fix the problems that I had with this one, we're in good shape, but I would still be annoyed with how this first one was handled. If it is not going to be something where he got to touch on all this stuff, I'm going to be even more upset with how things played out. Because the movie itself feels messy. It feels like he was trying to cram too much in there for what the studio might have allowed him to do. And then I was left with kind of a bitter taste in my mouth towards it, because I went into this movie wanting to like it. I love Dave Bautista. I love seeing him and stuff. I love seeing him branch out into other roles. Like he also got to like exercise some like serious acting chops in this one, rather than just rather than comedic. There's almost no real emphasis on his comedic ability in this one. This was like he got to do some like serious stuff, but not enough. Like I didn't get enough of him, and he was like, and he's like the forefront of this whole thing. It was supposed to be like a team up heist movie. Didn't really feel like a team up heist movie after things went on. It was supposed to be a zombie movie, and it felt like it needed to be more complex than a zombie movie. It was like, it feels like the movie just didn't, like by the time he got done, or by the time the studio got done telling him what he could or couldn't let through with it, or whatever ended up happening, it felt like the movie didn't get its identity. It feels like it didn't get like the one that it was intended to have, and it 5/2 of 10. Wait,
yeah, I'm guessing he's saying 5.5 out of 10.
5.5. Okay, yeah.
In comparison, Jeff, my score was 8 out of 10. So that's where we're different.
I will say watch it, because like I said, if there are more movies to come out of this, based off of the ideas that he's taking a very interesting step towards what I feel is the right direction for zombie movies, specifically around the zombies themselves.
Well, I want you to get into your notes.
The movie were a little rough.
But on that, since you're asking about that, he does. So there is two. They've talked about a possible sequel, and they have ideas for the possible sequel, but the sequel has yet to be confirmed. However, there is a spin-off anime series that's coming to Netflix called Army of the Dead Las Vegas that will expand on this, as well as a live-action prequel film called Army of Thieves. That's also coming to Netflix. So those are two additional pieces of the universe. But as far as an actual sequel, there is not a sequel yet planned. But Snyder is involved with those. He has written the copy for those, and he's directing, I think, a couple of the episodes of the anime series. But
Okay,
yeah,
I'm giving him the, like I said, I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt and see the future content and see kind of what he's going. Because, like I said, there were some elements to this movie that I really liked the concept of, but they didn't get to flesh out in this one, and I felt very unsatisfied.
well, let's tell me what you like first, and then let's get into your meat and potatoes of what you didn't like.
Okay, well, man,
If you can break it down. If you can't, just get to. I feel like you're hyping up this. You're hyping up your notes, and I want to hear.
I'm not hyping up anything. It's like I took notes of like because I wanted it to be like fresh in my mind when I came in to talk about it.
So Jeff, we're gonna get into spoilers here.
Yeah,
FYI.
let's throw up our spoiler tag.
Throw up the banner here.
If you don't care to see it, maybe my spoilers will. Maybe you'll want to watch just to see if my comments are valid or not. I don't know. Be a part of the conversation later. I don't know. I dig that. So, all right. Talking spoilers. Things I liked. I liked the idea that the zombies were not all mindless fucking drones. I liked that there were. I liked that there were some. There was some complexity there instead of it being specifically around. Like just every single zombie being like, all right, yeah, it's just an undead horde.
Mm-hmm.
That's been so tired. The Walking Dead just beat that horse into the ground, and an undead horde of stupid, dumb, mindless zombies it really isn't that scary anymore. Like, it doesn't work. And so when we came into this and you told me that there was some complexity there before I saw it, I was like, oh, okay, all right, I'm on board now. But again, I feel like we didn't get to see enough of it, because this movie was so all over the place. I like that there was what they called the alphas. So they're these zombies where they're essentially becoming a race of their own, and the comment that Lily made in the movie said, "You think that this is their prison, but it's not. It's their kingdom." I liked that. I dug that. And it's like they took this shit over. Fuck off. I didn't ask you anything, Robo bitch. Jesus Christ.
That was shut up, Alexa.
Yeah. What the fuck?
I was like, who the hell's talking to you all of a sudden?
Didn't ask you anything. I didn't say anything that sounded like your name, as far as I know. But no, I liked that. Having alpha zombies, that's fucking scary as shit. Knowing that they're not mindless, but they're like enhanced psycho individuals that like can bite you and you end up dying or getting sick or turning, or worse, you turn into a fucking zombie. And their only ambition is not to fucking eat you. It's to like add to their army of the dead, which is like, that's great. Like, that's a really cool concept. It's tough for me to
don't stretch yourself. If that's the only thing you like, don't try to make up things you like. I just wanted you to try to say the good things first and then get into the...
I liked for the bits and pieces that we got. I liked what they were trying to do around Batista's relationship with his daughter. And I like that it wasn't this big tragic event that totally split them apart. It was literally like, because normally you see something like that, I was like, I can't forgive you for killing my mother. Like, he had to do that, and he hated it. Like, and she wasn't immediately like, oh, you killed my mom. Like, she didn't take this weird stance as like, maybe she could have been saved or anything like that. It wasn't something dumb and tired like that.
I think they kind of played it like it was, though. Like, even Maddie was like, okay, fuck her. Like, he had to kill her. She was a zombie. Why can't the girl get over that? But then that didn't turn out to be the reason why she was upset.
I like that was the direction that they went. There's like, because that would have obviously been the thing that we were expecting it to be. And then you've got kind of like the same thing that she's mad at him about was what his romantic interest was angry about. Like, that was another thing. They really dropped the ball on that. That being a romantic interest, that was kind of like, really didn't do a good job of putting that in there. And then the timing that they revealed it was even worse. That he basically, after all these events shut down, like, I mean, it's clear that he's got PTSD and he just shut himself off from the rest of the world. And like, you showed that he was the bad guy in that situation, but like, I really like that relationship to mental health, about how his struggles with his own mental health as the result of a traumatic incident caused him to retreat into a way that would help him take care of his own mental health. But at the same time, he ended up rejecting everything else that could have been good in his life. I like that theme was touched on, because that's not something that gets talked about enough. We have a lot of people out there who use their mental health as a crutch, and it hurts other people in the process, but they take their own mental health as a priority and feel that whatever the cost is, it's like, no, I have to do this. It's for my mental health. It's for how I do this. They obviously took a very amped up version of somebody doing that the wrong way with Batista's character and having it be something that hurt the other people in his lives in a very dramatic way. But like, I like that, like, those stakes were involved under that specific theme. The problem that I had with it is that they really didn't get to exercise it in a satisfying way. I think they did fine with what they were left with, but studio fuckery is a phrase that I've used a lot in this show, and I feel like they were involved. I feel like a lot of that was involved with this movie. Like, I don't blame Snyder for any of this. I feel like somebody got their grubby hands on his project and was like he might have wanted to make another fucking 4-hour movie.
Well,
I can split it up into chapters.
I can dispel that for you, because that is the exact opposite happened here. This was a movie that was announced in 2007 that two other studios, Universal and I think Paramount, were going to be a part of. It was officially announced. It was announced like 6 months after Dawn of the Dead came out. Zack Snyder wrote it. Somebody else was supposed to direct it, and then it never happened. Zack Snyder was then approached by Netflix in 2016 saying, "Hey, we'd like you to make a film for us. Do you have anything that you'd like to make?" And he mentioned this story that he had back in 2007, and they said, "Go make that." And they have said over and over again, and it's like their selling piece now. They said, if anybody's wondering, this is 100% the Snyder Cut. So this is Netflix paying for this, not Netflix buying it from another studio. So the likelihood of studio fuckery is slim.
Well, that's unfortunate. Because just I liked what they opened up with on a lot of things, but they rushed through a lot of it, and then they got to the ending of it in a 2.5 hour movie. They rushed through a lot, and then I was left with a bitter taste in my mouth. So like, I took notes as I was going through, and they were really just bullet points. But the very first note that I had in here was that the beginning feels rushed, and I'm talking about specifically after the slow-mo sequence that he had, that was kind of like the establishing of what was going on, and after the
opening
events
credits,
after the events had transpired, after you see what broke out. I'm talking about like the opening, like as soon as he's at his the restaurant and he's flipping burgers.
Okay, so post opening thing, post blowjob catastrophe, and opening credits, which I think a lot of critics and I agree that the opening credits for this film were awesome. I absolutely
the opening credits were great. I loved
it was like
the
a
way
mini, it was like a music video. It was fantastic. I loved it.
I loved how ruthless it was. Like, they made it clear. It's like, some kind of fucked up shit had to happen in order for us to seal this shit off.
Soccer mom looked like she was going to be a co-main character, and then she dies in the opening credits.
Not everybody got out. Some kids fucking like, I loved that they were like, this is real. This is like, if this went down, it's not gonna be sunshine and roses. And so they had me there, and then they cut to like, they open up, he's at the Greasy Spoon, and then the fucking Tanaka comes in
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, "Hey, I've got to do this," and it was quick. So like it felt rushed. It felt like they really sped through that stuff. And then my next note is Sean Spicer. What the fuck? That just kind of made me laugh. That they had Sean Spicer in there as one of the pundits on the political show talking about the nuke. So I don't know if that was intended to be an Easter egg or something like that. That was just the next note that I had in here.
Mm-hmm.
And then Team Assembly was annoyingly edited and rushed. How was there no interest or hesitancy in the stakes involved? Money wasn't that good to face an undead army horde. Like that was, and then my next line right after it was a little bit later in the sequence. Like I'm kind of angry about it. And and it did.
I mean,
it felt almost insultingly quick how fast they were getting to these individual characters that they were going to bring along with them, explaining the situation, saying like it just made all of them seem like they were just greedy, like they didn't like there wasn't anything else to like they were just reckless, psycho, greedy bastards. And,
I didn't feel that way at all. I felt like all of them, but a couple of them were already on his team. The Viva Revengeous or something like that. That they were part of his crew that saved that general or whatever. So most of them had already done this for a while. They'd already been through that and survived. And then the other ones, like one of them was a YouTube star who made his likes off doing this. I mean, the only one that didn't have zombie experience for the most part was the safecracker guy. But again, none of them seemed to be doing well in life. All of them were presenting
being a fucking expert with a handgun and zombie killing as soon as he got in there. He was
that was a little
shooting bullets. Like what?
That was a little much. But for the most part,
the only
most of these people weren't living well.
Van. Like
I don't know who Van was.
Van is the black dude with the chainsaw.
Okay.
Because he's like he had a brief moment where he was talking about like the experience that he had in there, and I was just like, okay,
yeah.
they're gonna dig into a reason for why he really wouldn't want to go. But they really didn't go over. They didn't really do a good job of like explaining what they needed the money so bad that they were willing to face this psychotic army of zombies for.
Well, first of all, they don't know about the alphas at this point. They think they're all the normal zombies that they all survived before. And it's millions of dollars. A burger joint, millions of dollars is going to change their life. A woman running a crack shop, auto parts place, $1 million is going to change her life. I mean, none of them seem to be doing well in life. So when offered millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars, it didn't seem like a stretch to me that they would want it.
For those three, yes, who were getting millions. For the remaining characters that were getting
$500,000 is still a lot of money. I don't think any of them were getting less than $100,000. Like some of them were getting 500, some of them were getting 250. But I feel the need to be a part of the conversation, so I'm going to plug in some thoughts, but I'm not going to hard debate you on everything either. But go ahead.
It just felt like they rushed through it really quick. Like I didn't connect with any of their motives for going in there other than the fact that they were going to get a bunch of money. And I would have wanted something more powerful than that. Batista's character, he had a better reason for it. Like I said, I like how they went with his. He was going to give it to his daughter. It's like, you're going to get to go to college. You can do whatever you want with your life. He doesn't even know if it's going to be enough to get her to forgive him for what he wrongly thinks is what did it. Like, cause again, he doesn't think that he doesn't know what her real motivations are. He thinks it's because he had to kill the mom, and it's not, it's because he just wasn't around afterwards. So he is just trying to make amends with his daughter, and him risking his life to give his daughter a better life makes perfect sense. Like I'm on board there. But the safecracker guy, he's really just in it to crack this legendary safe, but according to him, but like they were just so back and forth with whether or not he was going to be stupid scared throughout the entire movie, like cuz he wasn't. Like he was, but he also wasn't the character who's like his fear is causing a bunch of struggles with it. Like he was just kind of there until he started cracking the safe. And then the safe was cracked fucking phenomenally fast. There wasn't really any suspense around that either. The volunteer, his daughter, I can't remember her name for the fucking life of me right now. She had a good motivation for going in there. I feel like they could have done a little bit more to kind of express why it was important, but like she's going in there to save a mother of a couple kids, somebody she's been connected with for a while, and they had like a moment together to explain, it's like, hey, yeah, we care about each other a lot. I've got to get in there. I've got to get her out. I understand her motivations. It's like, first of all, if you own a mechanic garage or something like that, like you can't be doing that fucking bad. Like,
how do you know she owned it?
I don't know, but sure as fuck being a lot better than being dead or getting eaten to death by a zombie. Like, even knowing that there are a bunch of like undead ones, there's fucking millions of them in there. Like, I mean, I just don't feel, I didn't get her strong motivation other than my life could get, I could either be dead or my life gets better. And the ones who were making a good 15 million, I'll let those go. The YouTube stars, that's what he was in there for. He didn't do any of it while he was in there. They took a selfie together. Like,
No, he killed like 5 people in that video they watched of him. That's how he got famous.
No. After he got in.
Oh, okay.
After they were behind the walls, he wasn't like, they took a selfie together with his girl and that was it. Like that could have been the potential to be like a part of like, so here's the scene, the first scene that I would have fixed. The first scene that I would have fixed is the glow stick scene. Cause first, so great moment of suspense there. Like I really like what they built that up, and they're hibernating. And it's like, good. They're not, again, there's some more zombie complexity there. There's a little bit more to this environment of dealing with this undeadness that took that character to another level. It's like, she's got that experience. It's like, hibernating zombies, you shit me? He's like, yeah, just don't bump into them. Don't do anything to wake them up. We should be able to pass through here. Suspenseful, scary. Got it. They're cracking glow sticks in order to get through here. How fucking far apart were they to where that guy throwing one out of the way was going to be enough to throw her off when they've all got fucking rifle lights pointed at the floor? Like, I couldn't get on board with how she got lost there. And there would have been a really easy way to fix that, is that the dickhead with the YouTube channel is just like, hey, I've got to film this. And he just keeps talking to the camera or something like that. Or he's like getting up in their face or something like that with the camera. And he ends up waking the things up. You still get your panic moment trying to get out of there. Bunch of crazy shit happens. It's all fine. But they needed to have that guy they needed to establish the security guy as a dickhead. Fine. I'll let that one go. But he locks that girl behind the thing. She busts out. Goose is automatically blaming the security dude for her not being there and immediately calling bullshit. And then she dies, and then nothing else out of those two characters. No conflict between those two characters whatsoever after that. It doesn't create any discourse within the team. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I'm just like, how is he going to let that dude off that easy? Like, he blames her for dying. We don't see him confront him about it ever again. And I was just like, he should be fucking livid. He should be fucking pissed. I just don't know what's going on there.
I feel and I'm gonna, obviously you're gonna keep going, and I want you to keep going because I want to hear what your other points are. But I feel like a lot of your comments, like, have you ever liked any team up heist movie? Because like this movie to me is Ocean's 12 but with zombies, and you know what's the other one with Mark Wahlberg and the little bug, Mini Coopers, whatever that one was. I feel like it always starts off with a quick gathering of your team. You got some people that get more time than the other people, and that is kind of the development you get. And then you get into, like, you never stop to say, what is everybody on Ocean's 12 motivation for, for potentially facing death or jail time for the rest of their lives. We never got into their individual motivations or any of these other heist movies. I feel like that's what this is.
Other heist movies aren't 2.5 hours long.
Well, they're 2 hours, or they're 2 hours and 20 minutes long. A lot of those are long, and I didn't.
Best.
I didn't think just because it's 2.5 hours long doesn't mean we need full backstories for every single character. I thought that, in fact, most people, a lot of the critics said that the gathering of the team was too long. And I thought it was just right. I thought we got enough of who they were individually. And then when they started dying off, they started dying off. But
it's just if you're going to give these characters all these specific characteristics that they're going to go with, I expect you to do something with them down the road. And other than the safecracker,
I don't know.
The big black dude who's like super attached to his saw didn't even fucking use his saw. Like
he used it in some scenes, but I mean, I think you could say the same thing about Aliens, and yet no one would think that was, that was the same thing. A bunch of really interesting characters that went into an alien horde and started dying off, and we only got enough, redeeming qualities or long takes on a couple of those characters, and the rest of them died off despite them having interesting characteristics. And this movie definitely pulls some inspiration from Aliens. Some might say a little too much inspiration, but
I can't pull comparisons to every other movie that did well when I feel like this movie didn't. Like if those are the comparisons that we're gonna make, and those movies did better than this one, or more watchable, it's like, well, then what else did this movie do wrong to make that comparison even harsher?
Yeah. We'll keep going.
I'm gonna stick with Goose letting that security guy off like way too easy.
I don't think. I mean, the rest of the movie only lasted for another couple hours. They were surrounded by zombies. I think he was focusing on. I mean, in reality, they were only there in Vegas for another couple hours, and they were trying to stay alive from zombies. So I think holding a grudge against somebody on your team, instead of trying to stay alive, might have been, a different priority for him. But go ahead.
At this point, the movie just kind of started getting predictable. Like when we learned that the nuke gets moved up, it was like, of course it did. Mm-hmm. Like, of course, the nuke wouldn't have been mentioned at all if it wasn't going to be a point of contention somehow. So that didn't really jump me in. The zombie horse was a little weird, but at the same time, I mean, if you're trying to like show some sentience to these creatures, I can let that one go. Like I said, I really like the way that they treated the zombies in this one. Like that's a fucking scary ass thing to know that there's these super smart zombies who are also smart enough to wear headgear that's bulletproof so they don't die, and knowing that you could shoot them everywhere else and gonna do shit, like that's compelling. And the fucking like the barter system that they have, like this chick has actually learned like kind of part of their rules somehow. Like she was able to figure, like I don't know how she would have figured that stuff out, but that establishes like a little bit more meat for her character. It's like, all right, cool.
Well, they said she's been the coyote for all this time, so she's done this a lot of times. She probably learned it over time or something. I don't know.
Her character was the one that I identified with most or that I cared about most out of all of them. Aside from Batista's character, I like the way that she was digging things out, or the way that she was getting fleshed out. And then my notes are pretty. I don't have any notes until like shit starts going to hell. I like the movie got better once they got in behind zombie lines. Mm-hmm. Like once they got there, like the movie got much more watchable for me. And so I didn't have as many notes, and not all these notes are negative. I say, okay, it's kind of a sacrifice, but how does Van get out of the vault now when Dieter locks him in there? I feel like a vault that was that secure. I mean, yeah, sure. Maybe it has a failsafe, in there, but like, how does he like, it felt kind of weird that locking him in a vault that's unable to be opened would have been that much of a sacrifice, unless there was like a clear sign that he was able to get out. That just turned it into a predictable thing. It's like, well, of course he's going to get out of there now. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I was happy for the Tiger Justice scene. That was pretty cool. The gore looked a little too fake, but yeah, seeing a zombie tiger bite that dude's face off was pretty satisfying.
They definitely took their time with that kill.
Yeah, they did. I said I have another note in here that says, finally a drum magazine in a movie with excessive rapid fire on machine guns, instead of like the 10-round magazines that you normally see where they can fire for 40 before they run out. I liked the firearm accuracy as far as the attachments that they had. My next one was horse zombie beats helicopter. Fuck off. Because that zombie got all the way down from the roof of that building, all the way down to the ground, finding his horse. That helicopter had already taken off to go to where they were going to go, and was already pretty far away while that zombie was while the alpha zombie was watching it. And then in the next scene, all of a sudden, like that horse is like making a beeline for the Olympus, and like the helicopter's barely beating them there. I was just like, no, come on, that's just an editing fuck up, or whatever. Like, I mean, they could have handled that in a completely other simple way. And then I have remarkable handgun aim for everybody involved. Some people are, like I said, a lot of people were really crack shots with handguns, and those are really tough to be accurate with. And then my last note was, how the fuck did he get out of that vault? How the fuck does he survive walking out of Vegas in Fallout nuclear conditions? And how does he not find that bite until he's on a plane several hours later?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
what did you think of Tig Notaro? You didn't mention anything with her.
I didn't have a problem with her character, actually. I liked her grizzled attitude. The moment where she's not on the roof and he comes back, she's like, she left us, and then she comes back and she's like,
that was an alien's move for sure.
Yeah, but we didn't need that.
Yeah,
like we really didn't need it. Didn't add or take away. Like if anything, it just made her character seem kind of a dick. And instead of like the charming level of like dickhead that the character was being played as. I will say that the CGI that they used to get her into the movie was not quite as seamless as you were explaining it to me, but I have a little bit more of a trained eye for stuff like that.
I gotta disagree, but go ahead.
I think that they did a great job. I just don't feel like it was as seamless as it was explained to me. Like, but again, I work with stuff like that. Like I know exactly what to look for stuff, and I was also looking for it. If you knew that she wasn't in this movie with the rest of the characters at all, and she was green screened in, it very apparent. Like looking at it from a VFX trained eye, I could spot it, but I'm able to excuse that because I know the circumstances. That didn't like jump me out of the movie or anything like that. But like I was able to spot it. But overall, I liked her character. Like just her general attitude. I feel like she played it really well. I would have liked to have gotten more from her. But I understand why they kind of couldn't. I understand the difficulties that they got there. Yeah, like I'm not stoked about giving any of these notes. It's like I just couldn't ignore this stuff, and it made the experience harder for me to enjoy. And I don't even like telling you about them because I know you really liked the movie and I wanted to like it. I really wanted to like this movie. And like I said, now that I know that there's going to be sequel content out there or prequel content, I guess, or like more stuff within the universe, like it just seems like this movie was an establishing piece of content. And I don't wholly like that. I don't dislike it either. It's just because like, again, I say that there's great concepts that this movie was trying to bring forth to the table. And a lot of stuff that you generally don't see in zombie content these days. Like they're always just a mindless undead horde. Always. And then this one, they're not. There's some complexity there. There's shit that you got to learn. There were rules. There was a fucking pregnancy involved that was pretty, like, what the fuck was gonna happen there? Like, holy shit. Also, you sacrifice these dudes and they just add them to the army. Like they've learned to turn people and they turn into like even bigger. Like I was convinced that the ending of this movie they were gonna get the fort, like because he handed her a few $1,000. But like I was convinced that they were going to learn somehow what Lily had learned from the security guy, that the head of the zombie or like the blood or anything like that was going to be way more valuable. And that was how they were going to make off, like making the money and giving her the better future. But we didn't get to see any of that resolved. and so that was kind of upsetting. It's just like there was a bunch of stuff that they were trying to establish that we didn't get to see the ending of, and it's because they've got more content planned for it, and I understand that, but like that just kind of goes against what we've talked about before. It's like I don't want another piece of content to come in later and retcon to fix something that we didn't like about something else.
I don't know. I view it as all of George A. Romero's zombie movies, and he made so many, Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Living. He had so many of those. Especially with something this big, with a zombie outbreak, or you don't even know what this is. You don't like, what was the thing in the beginning? Was it an alien? Was it something that came out of a lab? I wouldn't have wanted 2.5 films, hour film, 3-hour film. I wouldn't have wanted it to be done. And even if I didn't know that future content was happening, I think I would have complained that if everything was wrapped up in a bow by the end of it, that it would have been unnecessary. I like the idea of not knowing everything, of concepts being out there to possibly be explored later or never be explored. I thought it was a heist movie in a different environment. It was a zombie movie with different things. And man, if that stuff pisses you off, don't even start looking into the Easter eggs he had in here, because there were more than just 2 different kinds of zombies. There were robot zombies.
I saw the robot get his head blown off, and I was like, wait, what was that? But it was said that there were Easter eggs in there, so I thought that was just like some fun thing that he threw in there.
So, I mean, I think some people are misreferring to them as Easter eggs when they're actually just things he threw in there. But whether or not these spinoffs dive into that, there's alien stuff in there, or suggestions of alien stuff. There's time loop stuff in there with the that they kind of joke about, but it could have been more than a joke. It could have been something that was actually a thing, but again, it was more of a concept that didn't really get. When
Van was talking about the time loop shit,
mm-hmm.
I was really interested.
I mean, to him, it was more of a heavy thing, but the more you looked at those skeletons, the more you were like, wait, is this an actual thing?
Between those and the characters,
they were showing the apparel and everything, the necklace.
I was really interested in that. I was like, oh, okay. All right, we're going deeper into the sci-fi stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'm on board. And then they didn't do anything with it. I'm like, well, fuck.
But I don't know if that, I think that could be things that are in the future, and then Zack Snyder being Zack Snyder threw in a bunch of other random stuff. Like he threw in the Snyder Cut. That was before the Snyder Cut got made. He randomly threw in Saddam Hussein's golden AKs in there. He threw in a lot of random shit, but to me, it just felt like if you ask Michael Bay to do a car chase explosion movie, you know what you're gonna get. If you ask Jordan Peele to do an indie horror movie, you know what you're gonna get. If you ask Zack Snyder to do a stylistic, bombastic zombie movie, you know what you're gonna get. And I feel like you got what you knew what you were gonna get, and I guess I
didn't know what I was gonna get, and that was what fucked it up.
I saw the trailer for this. I saw Zack Snyder's name slapped on it, and start to finish, everything from the font to the music choices to the stylistic editing felt like a Zack Snyder film. And maybe I enjoyed it more because I was in the theater. That could have, the viewing environment, or might have changed my view of there's another Aliens reference, the Latino woman. Thankfully, she's actually Latino in this and not brown face like the one in Aliens. But
today, that definitely wouldn't have gone today.
Also, this isn't from the movie because this dude wasn't even in there.
I wasn't even in there. I didn't flunk the movie. Like, I didn't give it like a fucking F.
Well, I'm sorry that you watched it twice, and
I'm still calling it
dismay.
I'm still calling it passing. I mean, 5.5 to 6 out of 10, or like a C.
That's a failing grade. No, that's a fail. That's a fail in school, buddy.
If I had to give it a letter grade, though, I would give it like a C. Like it was average, and I wanted it to be better than that. Like, you got to remember, like, the only other content that I've gotten out of Zack Snyder that I have seen has been his DC Comics work, and so I know what he can do. I know what he can do with the property. We just saw the Snyder Cut, and it was glorious. Like this was like the first piece of content recently that I have seen where I've been like, this would have been better as a TV show.
I mean, it very well could have been better as a TV show, but I mean, how many other movies, especially heist movies, especially movies with big teams, could they have been better? Could you have gotten more development? Had they had episodes and hours upon hours to flesh out the characters? Of course.
Maybe not necessarily a TV show, but maybe just longer and split into like chapters.
I just feel like for what this was, which was a time clock heist movie, you had a team that you just knew. It's a zombie film. The majority of them are likely going to die. You don't know how many of them are going to survive. You can guess, but you really don't know. I thought that by the end of it, with the exception of this dude, because this is a tease. He's not really in the movie. I thought I knew
who
everybody.
Is that? Do we know who that is?
He looks
like Tom Hardy, but it's not.
Oh no,
Tom
it's
Hardy.
a nobody. It was just one of Guzman's friends. But as far as the actual actor, I have no idea. But yeah, he was the one that said, "Wait, what? No, fuck that," and then left.
Okay, I was gonna say it was like that's why I couldn't remember.
Yeah, Guzman brought her and him in. And then as soon as,
because he was like, "You're all gonna die," and he was right. He's fucking right.
I felt like I got enough of each characters to know who they were, and no, I didn't cry for each of them by the time they died. I don't think I would with most team movies, but I felt like it was fun. I thought it was a blast. It's not a horror movie for people that think it's supposed to be. I don't think it was ever advertised as a horror movie.
No,
it definitely wasn't. But
I gotta say again, I like how Dave Bautista did. I really liked his performance. I like that his story arc with his daughter came to a full circle to where she ended up having to do to him what he had to do to his wife.
Which is interesting because a lot of people hated his story arc with his daughter. I think just because she just came in this type of movie,
kind of unlikable.
She came off as unlikable, and you always need somebody that's like, here are the rules, and then you need that one person who just has to break the rules and be a dick to everybody else. And you're always, doesn't matter who that person is, you're gonna hate that person, and that was her role for this film.
I mean, like I said, we were on to the predictable part of the movie at that point. It was clear that was what. I mean, it was always clear that that's what she was gonna do
from the get-go.
Yeah. So, I mean, that didn't come off as a surprise, so I wasn't offended by it at all. But again, that added to the part of the movie that I liked. It was him and his dynamic with his daughter and how, and again, that mental health excuse that a lot of people will use.
Mm-hmm.
It's a taboo subject because, like, I mean, how dare you talk about my mental health that way? How dare you discount my mental health that way? It's like, you're hurting other people.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy had to learn it like up front. It's like, yeah, I was dealing with a traumatic event and then even more traumatic events as we were trying to like get out of the city and stuff like that. Like, he saw a lot of shit, but it's like, yeah, after a while, it's like, you can't like just abandon everybody in your life and expect it to be okay. It's just like, just because you told them, it's like, yeah, I'm sorry, I had a rough go of it. And it's like, it doesn't work out that way. And I feel like Zack Snyder is somebody who's going to know that really fucking well.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he's gonna know the depths of where somebody can go when they're having a really rough patch.
Yeah.
And I really liked that he touched on that. And then as they go through, like, Dave Bautista's motivation is pretty much clear the entire time. He just wants to give his daughter a better life. He wants to make amends, but he also doesn't care if he gets them because she'll still be living a better life.
Mm-hmm.
And then it finishes it off with him having been bit. She knows that she can't save him, and she knows that she has to put him down. And it's like, and then she has to then feel exactly what he felt in that moment, but she'll know what kind of damage that did to her relationship with him, so she won't let that affect her in other ways. It's like, yeah, that's a healing thing, and it was a nice little full circle that came through. I appreciated that part of the movie, but I'm my expectations for the rest of the movie and the rest of the like the rest of the themes that were being held up there were probably just a little too high.
I mean, for
if I was able to get past all that, like
on Netflix, they might have been high, but
we're also talking about Zack Snyder here.
But we're also talking about a zombie movie.
He's high caliber up there.
Is he for you? Outside of his DC films,
Zack Snyder knows how to tell a story.
Okay.
Zack Snyder knows how to tell a story.
Well, I agree, and that's why I liked it. I feel like if Zack Snyder is going to be on this movie, you know that you're going to get more than you bargained for, or at least more than you expected. When Zack Snyder came on the scene with Dawn of the Dead as his debut movie, granted he didn't write that movie, James Gunn wrote it, but when he brought that movie,
right.
That movie, and he had Snyder had elements into that movie. He was part of that creative team. That was groundbreaking movie. It wasn't the first fast running zombie movie. That was 28 Days Later. But they took that and they capitalized on it, and it was less Danny Boyle stylistic and more of a traditional zombie movie, but with running zombies. It was considered pretty groundbreaking for the genre. I wouldn't call this movie groundbreaking, but it was definitely something that was different, because ever since 28 Days Later came on the scene, we've had so many zombie movies and spin-offs and things that were it's kind of ironic. The zombie genre has had this death and rebirth thing about itself for the past, since the early 1900s with White Zombie. It is
pretty fitting when you think about it.
Yeah, pretty fitting. It's exploded, it's died off. It's exploded again, it's died off. In fact, if you even look just at The Walking Dead, it exploded again, and then within its own series, it died off. People got super stoked for it.
It exploded and died off a few times in that show.
Yeah, but that show, even after things like Dawn of the Dead and 28 Days Later, that show brought back zombies to mainstream media, which is incredible, especially considering that now, other than its hardcore fans, people don't give a shit about it. But this, at least it was different. For me, I was like, this could have been so much run by the numbers. Heist film in Vegas with zombies doesn't sound very unique. It really doesn't. We've seen zombie movies. We've seen heist films. We've even seen heist film zombie movies before. But the fact that this had different types of zombies, the fact that Zack Snyder just threw shit in there and didn't give you an answer for what that was, and you might have caught it, or you might. I know people that are like, "What, robot zombies?" I never saw a robot zombie in there. The fact that it had animals
I saw
in
one.
there.
If there was more than one, then I missed that. But
there were two, but they were in the same scene.
Okay, but I saw the one get the bullet through his head. You
saw like sparks.
On the casino floor while they were going out. I saw two others with blue glowing eyes in the pool.
So that was
the pool scene.
So that and then the blue bowling, the blue glowing baby. Yeah. There were concepts in this that I just thought was interesting. And when they all got dead at the end, I was like, is that it? Was that the one that escaped? And they have others at, Area 51. I was like, I want to know more about this. And coming out of a zombie film, after seeing 20 plus zombie films, I appreciated that there were new concepts in here, even if they weren't, by the end of the film, fleshed out.
I am in the exact same boat. I'm just not as forgiving to the other stuff. I appreciated this. I appreciated this film for what it was trying to do. I just feel like it might have been trying to do a little bit too much, and ended up feeling like it did very little with a lot of different things. Which is why I don't consider it a failure. I would watch it again. I would watch it again in the background.
Well, according to Netflix, it's one of their biggest hits, so they don't consider it a failure either. No. So they are very happy with it.
Even in this frame here that we've got pulled up here, I can tell that Tig was not originally in that photo. Like,
well, yeah, but
I mean,
but-
there's that. I don't hold that up as something that I can't ignore because I understand the circumstances in which that needed to exist.
but you and your critical eye do not represent 99.99% of the viewers.
That's a big thing here. Is that you don't have to listen to my opinion and be like, "Oh man, that's gospel for this movie." This movie.
And to be
sucks now.
fair, you only know that because you know that she's in the back. There's nothing about this picture that's like there's
It's
fuzziness
specific-
around her head or stuff like that.
For somebody who uses Photoshop as often as I do, I can tell.
Okay, so give me one thing about this picture other than
the lighting on her is specifically less consistent than it is with the other characters in there, and it's subtle. It takes trained eye, but I can see it. And lighting was a giveaway in the places in video as well. But again, I'm able to excuse that because I liked her character in this movie. I liked Tig Notaro in this movie. I like her in general. Like her accepting the job just based off of the money for her character was the only one that to me made sense, because she took it on its face value, and she also you made it very clear right off the bat. It's like, I don't care about my life. It can't get worse. Let's give it a go. And then they're like, you don't even want to hear what you need. It was like, well, I can probably guess. I'm a pilot and probably has something to do with a helicopter. It's like made perfect sense. Like I was completely on board with Tig Notaro's character in this movie. It just was not as seamless. I didn't take any points away out of my score because I could tell that she wasn't originally in the movie and that they had to CGI her in. But a lot of people aren't going to fucking know that. A lot of people aren't going to know that. I know that for a fact. There aren't people who look at images like that in a visual post effects eye like I will and notice something like that. I don't think that it was lazy. I don't think that it was done lazily. I feel like they did the best with what they could based off of the very unfortunate circumstances that they ended up having to deal with after they had already done so much filming. And so I'm not taking any points away from the movie for that. It's something that I'm going to point out.
Well, I know we got to wrap this up.
It was a big point to a lot of people. It was like, oh yeah, Tig Notaro. You couldn't even tell that she wasn't originally in the movie, and people were lauding her for that. It's like, yeah, I could. I'm sorry, I'm not taking points away from it, but I could fucking tell, and it didn't annoy me as much as it might sound like it did. But people were like holding it up as like this big Paramount breaking thing for the movie. I'm just like, it's just,
but how many of those people knew about it beforehand? And I wonder if you didn't know about it beforehand, would you have noticed? And you can't honestly tell me that you would have.
The scene in the hangar was where it was most apparent while they're getting the plan laid out to them. That scene was where it was the most obvious that it was going. Like the brightly lit scenes were where it was more clear.
Well, we got to wrap this up because we've been talking for an hour and 43 minutes. But I do want to know the one thing you haven't talked about that we did talk about when I brought up this movie was the lens that were used, the Dream lens, and Snyder as DP on this. What did you think about his use of the Canon lens and his style on that?
Visually, I liked it because it was different. It was unique. It's not something that you see a lot of, and I was into that. Which is probably why I didn't have a lot to talk about on it, because it also wasn't really like a game changer for me. It was just like, hey, that's a cool style choice. It did not make anything better or worse for me.
A lot of people didn't like that, and from like they couldn't get on board with the selective focus and they thought that was what ruined the film for them. Those that are against this film, that was one of their main things was, why the fuck did he use those lenses?
I feel like there were some focus pull moments that were kind of weird. Like the one that sticks out in my brain was when the tiger jumped off of I think it was the first appearance of Valentine, the tiger. She like hops off of the car, and then we've got a shot out the back end of a car, and the focus is stuck on the back end of the trunk as she like moves away. I feel like that was a weird focus pull moment that they held, but it was more because they held on that shot for so long than it was about the focus. Cause like as soon as like she jumped down and then like half of her was away and then like she was out of the shot and then it just lingered there. And I think that's the only thing that I can think of on it. But yeah, as far as the selective focus, I mean, that didn't bother me. It really didn't. I don't know. It added to the depth of the movie a little bit for me, you know, because like obviously your eye is not going to focus on everything all at points. Like the depth of the visual, the depth of field of the visuals was like, yeah. I mean, I know what I'm looking at when I'm looking through a lens like that. I shoot on Canon cameras myself.
There's a weird dead pixel conversation going on that's attributed to those cameras, or it's something that people are getting bent out of shape about, that, oh my God, there was a dead pixel and that ruined the film for me. I feel like that was just bandwagoners on Twitter, especially because a lot of their comments were like copy paste from each other, but they were people like
people who still can't forgive Zack Snyder for how things went, and they're probably going to bandwagon. I mean, even if it has nothing to do with Snyder, just them shitting on something. I didn't notice one. I didn't noticed catch any of them.
I noticed one dead pixel on second watch when I was watching it with Maddie on my own TV. I certainly didn't notice it in the theaters, but I saw these articles are like, the film was ruined for thousands of fans, and then they reference 3 Twitter posts, and 2 of them looked like they were copy paste from each other, and people were like, I spent hours trying to figure out if my TV was bad when it
would have taken 2 frames for you to realize that it wasn't your computer.
Yeah, it was gone. Idiot. It was gone in less than 5 seconds. So then you would know that it's not your TV. It's if you rewind it and you see it, and you fast forward and you don't see it, it's not your TV. You know, and people are just making it out to be like, holy shit, I was on the phone with Samsung for 3 hours because of this movie. And it was like, no, you were not.
You're a fool.
And if
Watch
you
the movie
were
for a half a second longer.
If you were, you're a fucking idiot. But, you know, I mean, that was the type of backlash for this movie. I'm glad I saw it in theaters. I don't consider this a streaming quality movie. I thought that if it had gone out in theaters, people would have, those that liked it would have liked it. Those that didn't like it didn't like it. But I thought it was, as far as streaming movies, as far as movies that we've gotten specifically coming out on streaming, even as far as Netflix streaming, movies that they've specifically paid for, not that bought from another studio that let go of it and then just, you know, got the rights to distribute it. I think it's among their top films. I think compared to some of the Ryan Reynolds ones that they've been putting out lately, compared to like the Mick G films, which I thought were great, but I thought were lacking in things. I think this is one of the biggest movies that they've put out. And I was pretty satisfied with it. So I'm sad that you weren't, but
I wasn't as satisfied as I wanted to be, but I did not walk out of it like hating myself. Like, I don't feel like I need these 5 hours back that I spent watching this.
Well,
movie.
Clearly, yeah, you subjected yourself to it twice, but
I like I said, I watched it the first time and I wasn't as satisfied with it. It was like, okay, I was watching it in the background. Maybe I didn't give it a proper chance. And so I sat down and watched it, and I paid harder attention because it was like, maybe there's something I missed, which is why it wasn't satisfying to me. And it just didn't, like, I watched it the second time and it just didn't change it for me. But again, I applaud Dave Bautista for getting a role where he wasn't typecast as just the macho buff funny dude that he has been in a lot of movies since he started acting. Like,
and he's talked that up. He gave praises to Snyder for that. He said that,
and there's a great move that he was able to flex like a more dramatic muscle here. And out of all the fucking muscles that beast has, he's got a good dramatic muscle on him too. And I'm glad to see it.
I'm I always eat up drama, especially when that's what we talk about. We talk about Hollywood drama all the time. Not like
Oh, that
relationship
kind of
drama,
All right.
but like studio and actors and movie drama, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I'm also never one to be like, oh yeah, you should bite the hand that feeds you just because it's a spicy headline. But he has talked about, like I was really interested in Boyega's comments against Disney, but at the same time I was like, man, don't kill off your career if you don't got a leg to stand on. Granted, he did have a leg to stand on.
Oh yeah,
but
the fans
but
were on
he's
his side on that one in a big
right.
way.
But that's always like a man, you better really have a thing before you start poking the bear.
It's a gamble for sure.
Yeah,
And
but
for him
Batista,
it paid off, and for Batista, I
right.
think it's gonna too as well.
Batista, he hasn't gone that deep. He hasn't straight up like called him out, but he has said that he's on the verge of walking away from Marvel because he's tired of being the shirtless guy. Like he can be more than that. And I get it. His character is wooden and is got a certain thing, so he's not going to be able to do these action or these acting chops that he's been able to do here and in Blade Runner 2049. But he is more than the man with muscles, and I'm sure. And he just said it. He's like, I'm getting tired of being the shirtless guy.
He's also getting like self-conscious. Apparently, he's saying that he's getting up there in age, and he doesn't feel like his physique like holds up to that as much, and he's not as comfortable being shirtless all the damn time.
And we've seen people like Terry Crews say the same thing. I'm tired of being that guy. Like I can be more than that, but you fucking won't let me. So I get that. But he said, Zack Snyder and Denis Villeneuve has given him opportunities to be more. And I think a lot of people, when Blade 2049 came out, were kind of sad that he wasn't in more of it because he was great in the one scene that he was in, And I wouldn't say the same for Spectre because I forget every day that he was in a James Bond movie, but he was so throwaway. It was just like, of course I forgot about him because he was just throwaway. But I think he did great in this movie, and I want to see more of him.
I'll bet when he got that role, though, it was like, how long is it? 5 seconds? Don't care. It's a James Bond movie. I'm in it.
I mean, yes. and he was in there. He was in for more than 5, and he had some good action scenes. But I mean, he was like bolo hat guy. He wasn't. He was just the big. He wasn't even the baddie. He was just the muscle henchman that you don't remember anything about. And I forget every day that he's in that movie until I see something, and I'm like, oh, that's right. He was in that movie. But here, I agree. I think he was a highlight of the film. He definitely carried the film. Yeah. And, you want somebody to be able to do that. So
his daughter came off as unlikable. So her character, I didn't care as much about, but I liked her involvement in his arc specifically. And then the Coyote, it was those two, it was those characters that I
like this dude
connecting with more. Yeah. And I also thought when they introduced him, I thought he would have more to do as well. But as far as top characters, he doesn't quite make it in there. Because when he started like dying in the ending of like all that, I was just like, I expected you to die from radiation sickness, but that zombie thing must have kept you alive somehow. And then we were also like, he did leave me with the only question that I really, really do want answered is like, okay, is this thing evolving? Because he didn't turn in a timely fashion whatsoever. The others all turned very quickly. Or like Batista,
I heard
Batista
somebody
was turning
say
really
that,
quick.
but Batista
turned
died
very fast.
Batista died, and then he turned.
She shot
he
him.
didn't die.
No. He was starting to turn before she shot him in the head.
But he wasn't turning because of the bite. He was turning because of his injuries. He had injuries, and then you went through he had the dude like fucked him up. He had like a chunk of his gut missing. He was bleeding from the gut, and then he went through a helicopter crash. So he didn't die because of the bite. He died because of his injuries.
Didn't she also say that he felt cold while she was like trying to help him out or something like that? And that was like the hint.
Like that.
It was like because they were talking about temperature drop. I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought that like his bite and having it not. Because
I can't remember anybody else that got bit and then just turned from the bite.
The security guard dude, like they turned him into an alpha just based off of the bite. They didn't kill him beforehand.
That's true. Well, you
And
didn't
so
see it, but they
we
bit
didn't
him and then
s-
they carried off somewhere, so you didn't really see how long it took him to turn.
yeah. And
But then
Batista
again, the
got
movie's
bit
not
by
that long.
Batista got bit by the big dog. Like that was that was one of the questions that I had. Is like, okay, is the version that he had evolved a little bit? And
But you didn't really see who bit this guy either. So
well,
if he wasn't bit by an alpha,
he was fighting with the main dude in the vault room. With the main
he was
zombie
fighting
in the
with him,
vault.
but you didn't. And I guess the other ones were part of the alphas
You
in
didn't
that
really,
hallway
yeah,
anyway.
but he didn't really have as much of a struggle with them or anything like
Yeah.
that. So.
Yeah. I did like, and one more thing, because it's dumb. I did like when they did the head thing with this chick.
Oh man, that was fucked up.
It was something I've never seen before, because you see that all the time, right? You've seen it in so many movies
yeah.
where they do the head twisting around, but they did the extra little thing of her spine popping out, because that's you twist the spine, it's gonna pop off and then go. And the fact that it popped out, I was like, oh, okay, I've never seen that before.
They did the same
just
thing with
small little
Batista's. They did the same thing with Batista's arm. When they broke his arm out, you saw that thing jut out of his forearm.
Oh,
his
yep.
elbow.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, no, they didn't fuck around with the gore in this movie at all. Much to
Small
Cece's
random
happiness.
things.
All of the stuff that
Yeah.
I've had her watch recently has been excessive. Like we've had her watch The Boys, and then we watched Invincible, and then we watched this movie together. Like every
They
new
definitely
thing
earned the
that
R rating for sure. Yeah.
everything that I've introduced her to lately has been excessively gory, and she's just hating it.
Well, we've talked this to death, and I'm sure this was more boring for viewers than it was for us. But we normally don't get this nitty gritty into things, but
We do.
Yeah,
We do. This is the first time that we have ever had this polarized of an opinion about a piece of content. It's like, because we're not exactly on the opposite ends, but we're as close to being completely opposite in feelings about this movie as we have ever been about a piece of content.
And it's certainly making me re-examine our friendship, but that's a conversation for another time.
See, I was about to say that we were being amicable about it, and we were being like generally agreeable, and you just went and fucked it to the wind.
I know. I can't let you have that. I'm sorry.
These are the kinds of discussions that need to be able to be had when there is a disagreement, though. Neither of us are like screaming at each other, like freaking out, like "How dare you have this?" Like these are the kinds of
on camera, at least.
Yeah. Okay. What are you warming me up for?
I'm kidding.
Like when we like the fact that we can have a disagreement about a piece of content and it isn't turning into a shit fest, like that's a good thing. We should be able to have differing opinions between each other, and like not I'm not talking about just you and me, like in general. People should be able to have disagreements about something and have it not be just this huge ridiculous thing. And we agreed on some shit about the movie. Like
yeah,
like,
I think it was just I know you there were things that you just you thought it was you thought there was too much in or they weren't fleshed out, whereas I was happy for it. And there are people that went further than that. Like not only that there was too much stuff, but there were people like, how could they have sex? You know, or like there was one dude that was like, I'm sorry, but zombie physiology would not allow their organs to have reproductive systems to have a baby. And I said, okay, first of all, zombies are fiction, you know, right? Like they are fiction. Therefore, a fiction movie. There's no real zombie physiology, for one. And second of all, you're willing to believe that these dudes can run, jump, talk, build muscle, but have sex is the thing. Oh, and talk. Oh, but have sex is the thing that freaks you out. You know, like the things people.
They just didn't want that to awaken some weird fetish in their brain.
They're like,
this
is destroying known zombie psychology. And I was like, this is a fiction movie, bro. Like there is no set rules for this.
I don't want my undead necrophilia to become a regular thing on Pornhub. It's supposed to be niche, and now it's gonna be invaded.
No, it's gonna be mainstream, bro.
Yeah, they were on the outskirts, and now it's being normalized.
Right. Messing with my porn, man.
You know what? To be fair, out of the whole thing, other than the characters referring to them as zombies, we don't know that they're zombies either. Like
you really don't. Well, especially with the opening scene, you don't know what it is, or is it an alien? Is it a
is this a fucked up super soldier program that just
super soldier thing?
Like
yeah, Yep.
Like,
Which is what I'd be interested to see. What else
that's
comes out of this?
That's what I want to know about with future content. Like I say, like if this was part of a universe that's going to be built off of the same thing, like I want to see more of this style of zombie content. This particular movie did not wow me. I still liked it better than I liked The Rise of Skywalker.
Okay.
I liked it. I liked it
At least
better
we can say that.
I liked it better than season 8 of Game of Thrones. It had its good points. It just didn't satisfy me as much as I wanted it to.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it apparently it was streamed in 72 million households, and Netflix is really happy with it. I'm glad I got to see it on the big screen. I know they've done that in the past. They've had like The Irishman in theaters for a month so that they could have it on. They could have it up for awards. But
what happened to Gita?
Who?
Did she die in the helicopter crash?
Who's Gita?
She's the chick that Kate was trying to get out of there. Her entire
it showed
to
her. She died in the. It showed her body. Yeah. Yeah, like, everybody died in that crash. Tig died in that crash. Granted, she was shot beforehand, but
that makes me more mad because I didn't see her dead in the helicopter. I saw Tig dead in the helicopter.
I saw her body when the daughter crawled out, but
I didn't. I must have missed that. That makes me a little bit more mad that she didn't even like succeed.
She didn't save one of the three women she went in there to get.
Save fucking anybody. Maybe that's why a lot of people are angry about the movie.
I don't know, but a lot of people
Kate's character is because she didn't even like she was a bitch the whole time and didn't even succeed.
She should have just She was the one person that's like, wait, there could be survivors in the home nest of the zombie. Let's go there. Be like, no, that is that's when you don't go. Sorry,
cut your losses, kid. No, so the movie as it stands right now has a 5.9 out of 10 on IMDb, a 69% on Rotten Tomatoes, a 57% on Metacritic, and 72% of Google users liked this movie. And the tomato meter on Rotten Tomatoes is 69, audience score 75%. So, I mean, I'm not the only one who felt this way, but again, I am going to tell you to watch the movie. Like if you watched it through, even with all these spoilers, I would say go and watch it. Especially with me giving you these spoilers. Now you know what to expect from my side. Go and tell me if I'm just fucking out of line. Meanwhile, A Quiet Place Part 2 has a 91% and is certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. So apparently I just need to watch Quiet Place and then go and see Quiet Place 2. And then
you absolutely
will be well in
do.
the world.
You absolutely do.
Okay.
Because I'm telling you, these former comedians coming out with horror films is like should be a subgenre of itself now, because holy shit, like I'm sorry, but you could not if 15 years ago you told me that my favorite horror / thriller movies would be written and directed by the guy from The Office and one of the reoccurring characters on Mad TV, I would have told you that you're batshit crazy. But Jordan Peele is killing it, and John Krasinski is killing it. He starred in the first Quiet Place, and then he literally wrote and directed the second Quiet Place. And damn, it was good. Did he direct the first Quiet Place, or did he just star in it?
I thought he did. He
didn't write the first Quiet Place.
He was the main dude out doing press and stuff for it. And he was talking they were talking about how he made it. And there's like
he might have A Quiet Place 1. He did direct it. He didn't write it, but he did direct it. He wrote and directed this one.
I thought he and his wife were like the creative team between both.
No, somebody else. In fact, he brought it to fruition, but somebody else. These two other guys, Brian Woods and Scott Beck, wrote the story for it, and then somehow or another he came to direct it. I don't know how the hell he landed that, and he even said in an interview that he really was like, "No, I'm not going to write a horror. Or I'm not going to direct a horror movie." And then the family element is what brought him in. But I'm not saying I want him to just have a horror film career from here on out, but damn, if these are his 2 opening directed movies, shit, like way to knock it out of the park. I'm telling you.
I'll have to give it a go.
It's so damn good, and I hope we get a 3rd final one. If we never do, these films stand on their own, but if we do, I feel like it could be
I like
a heavy hitter trilogy.
I like that. Those are the movies where I'm like, okay, even if we don't get another one, we're in good shape. That's how I like movies to go.
I think it's begging for another one, and you as an audience member are begging for another one. But I think they're really damn good.
All right, so I will, in penance for me hating on this movie so much, like for as a in an act of good faith, I will watch A Quiet Place before our next episode.
Okay. Are we going to do another episode before you go on vacation?
We should. Yes. Yes,
Okay.
because I won't be gone at that point. So
cool. Well, thanks for spending your Sunday night with me, buddy, and everybody else who watches this. Thanks for
spending
your time,
even though
Jeffrey.
I annoyed you almost the whole time.
I didn't.
Right.
I forgot to send a text to Jared. He's normally pretty vocal on our live streams. I know he wanted to see A Quiet Place too, but I don't think he's seen it yet. But
well, good for him, because these videos all go up into our archive on YouTube, so you can catch all of our past content if you head over to our channel. Or you're already on our channel. You're here. If you're watching on YouTube, you're already here. You can check on all that stuff out. We've got a bunch of different content out there. I'm going to be bringing more to you now. The vacation for me is going to be a refresh of the brain. We're going to come back with some fresh ideas, some new stuff, and then we're going to be bringing it all to you as we normally do. So until that point, hit the like button if you like this video. Hit the dislike button if you didn't. Be honest, we can take it. I can take it. I deserve it after all that shit that I just spewed out. Hit the subscribe button so you don't have to worry about missing any future content that we come out with. And have a good night.
see ya.